Hello, boxing fans around the world. Welcome to another edition of Talkin Fight, where we discuss all things related to the Olympics, specifically boxing at the Olympics coming up in Tokyo this July. And today we have an interesting twist, I suppose, not just specifically about boxing, but about the Olympics and an upcoming tournament as well. All right, go ahead, Christian. What do you got?
Well, Graham, I don't know if it's much of a twist, but a lot of things we've been talking about Olympics for a while now. And one of the things that it seems like it's a far way away. We've still got 4 months to go until we're looking at the actual Olympics, but it's a little closer than we may be thinking here, because the actual festivities, the Olympic season, actually jumps off in a little less than 10 days. As the official torch relay is set to start on the 25th of March. And obviously, so this is a great sign that it looks like the Olympics are going forward. And we've heard a little bit today, a bit more about that. So one of the first people who's going to be involved with this torch relay is super centenarian Kane Tanaka. So she's been given the honor of doing this because she is at a spry 118 years of age, is going to be carrying 118, is going to be carrying on the 25th itself in the beginning of the ceremonies leading up to this summer's Olympics in Tokyo. She's going to be covering one of the first 100-meter stages of this relay. So Tanaka was born in Wajiro on the southern island of Kyushu on the 2nd of January, 1903, and officially became the oldest verified living person in the world on the 22nd of July 2018. So she's been holding on to this record for a little while now. She herself is a survivor of a couple of bouts of cancer, one of which is pancreatic, which is no joke. She also survived the trauma of having one of her sons captured during the Second World War and held as a prisoner in Siberia until he was finally released in 1947. She is going to be pushed for her part of the 100 meters. She's going to be pushed in a wheelchair by her relatives for most of that section of the relay. Although she is planning to get up and walk the last few meters with the torch before she passes the torch on to the next bearer. So this super centenarian, who, for those of you who aren't familiar with the term, is anyone who is older than 110 years old. That's the 10 that gives you the super part there. Has lived through two major global pandemics in her life, as well as the earthquake and tsunami of 2011 in Japan. She was actually born the same year that Orville and Wilbur Wright first took flight in the Kitty Hawk in North Carolina. To kind of put things in perspective for you. She was born the same year that we discovered air travel. Tanaka's family did give her a new pair of sneakers for the event, so she's got those to look forward to, I suppose. She's going to be taking the flame as it goes through Shima in the prefecture of Fukuoka. And again, as always, I apologize for the horrible pronunciations that I have for these things. Have a go at me in the comments over those. And this is prior to the 49th Olympiad that she has experienced in her lifetime. 49 Olympics. So she's not done, though. According to her, she is now gunning for the record as being the oldest living person to ever have lived on Earth. Now, that record is currently held by a French woman who managed to live to the, frankly, astounding age of 122. So she's only got a couple of years left to go. She's been holding on to this record for some time now. So we wish her all the best in getting to that 123 minimally. So, but in preparation for this relay now, we have just recently heard from the Japanese authorities as well with respects to this relay. So the 121-day torch relay is set to begin, as we've mentioned, on the 25th of March. So it's a little under 10 days' time now to kick off the Olympic season at J Village Training Center in Fukushima. And this is going to be launching up the official build-up to the July 23rd start of the Games. Tokyo 2020 CEO Toshiro Muto told a news conference just the other day, finally they've come in and given their opinion on this. He has said that people are fine to watch from the side of the road, the relay that is, but when they do so, we would like them to practice social distancing and try to avoid crowds. We want to ensure a safe torch relay, not only for the runners themselves, but for the people in the local communities who are kind enough to host it. Organizers have the unprecedented task of planning the world's biggest multi-sport event during a pandemic, and they have faced tough decisions at this point as to whether or not to allow in overseas fans or how many to allow spectators into venues in general. Now, as we know, we heard just last week that they were not going to be allowing overseas fans into the actual events themselves, with the exception of VIPs and those who were coming in as part of corporate sponsorship schemes. The official grand start ceremony and the first section of the torch relay on day one, and they've made the decision, is not going to be open to the public, as organizers have decided to reduce the number of participants and simplify that program. So the relay itself is going to crisscross Japan for the next 4 months, with a little over 10,000 runners carrying the torch. So all testing has already been done on most of the staff and people in Japan for this. Obviously, we'll be doing more testing coming up closer to it. And anyone who is taking part in the relay also is going to have submitted negative coronavirus tests. All staff and runners ultimately are going to end up being subject to the Tokyo 2021 Olympic coronavirus playbook, which we've gone over here on this show. If you look back in the episodes a couple of weeks back there, anyone who's looking to find out what those restrictions are can find that on the Olympics actual website. It's only 33 pages long, lots of big pictures and infographics, and everything you need to know depending on what part of the games you're involved with, or you know someone who's involved with, what restrictions they're going to be subject to. It's all available online at this point. Other than that, though, it's all been no news is good news as far as the Olympics themselves go. We've had no major rule changes, no new venue changes, no new personnel changes, no cancellations or relocations of events. So it's all good news in that there's no news on that front. So moving away from the actual Olympics themselves, you mentioned, and we mentioned yesterday briefly, the Bosphorus tournament in Istanbul is just kicking off. And this is another one of those tournaments that is going to be helping towards global rankings and AIDA rankings, which is what's going to be taken into account. I'm sure all of you are getting sick and tired of hearing me talk about this aspect of it, but these rankings are what's going to be taken into account in order to allocate the 53 spots that were taken away by the cancellation of the World Qualifier in Paris that was due for July. So that's just kicking off as we speak, pretty much. Yesterday was the opening ceremony of that one there, and the official draws. So qualifying rounds start today and tomorrow. Over the next couple of days leading into the weekend, we should have quarterfinals. Sorry, I've just got the official tournament invite here in front of me. I just want to make sure I'm getting my dates right here. Yeah, there we go. So we'll be moving into semifinals, which we'll be looking obviously a little closer at this tournament once we get into semis on Friday, and the finals themselves will be taking place on Saturday. So this is going to be running over 8 weight classes for the men, 5 weight classes for the women. And we were able to see a very successful tournament run recently in Cologne. A little bit more successful, I would say, than the one that we saw recently in Spain, which was the boxing tournament, which we talked a little bit about on the show last week as well. Now, the big issue with the boxing tournament, which we didn't see at Cologne, obviously came down to coronavirus and coronavirus precautions. Boxem saw the biggest hit that was taken by Team India, who was set to fight in 9 separate finals in the Boxem tournament. And due to COVID-19 diagnosis by one person on their team, all of a sudden we went down to seeing them fight in only a single gold medal bout, and the rest being walkovers. So they ended up coming away with 8 silver medals from that tournament, as opposed to the possibility of coming away with 9 golds. So that affects not only rankings, but also team morality and everything else that goes with it. And not that that's slowing the Indians down. As you know, Graham, these guys are pretty adamant when it comes to the run-up to this, especially this Tokyo Olympics, on getting as much exposure for their boxers as they can. And to that end, at Bosphorus, it's no different. They're sending a 13-member strong contingent, including Tokyo-bound Pooja Rani, who thus far is the only the only boxer from India who has qualified for the Olympics so far. So we're looking to see a lot of movement here. We're not seeing a lot of the boxers that we did see at the last tournament in Boxem in Spain. MC Mary Combe is being rested at this point in time, as is men's 52 kilogram weight class Amit Pangal. Both of these had high expectations back at Boxem. Amit Pangal didn't even manage to make it through his quarterfinal, unfortunately, and Mary Combe ended up taking home a bronze, losing in her semifinal match. So, but big news from them. They're still pushing forward. The Kazakhs are sending their women's elite team as well. So we're going to be seeing big things. They're pushing the big thing is going to be the women's side. I think on this tournament is where we're going to see the larger names. A lot of these guys having sent their larger men's names to Boxem and Strandia recently. So I'm curious to see what what this is going to unfold into over the next couple of days. But obviously, we're going to be bringing you updates on that as we move a little farther into it. Wish I had more to bring you on Bosphorus today, Graham. But like I said, the draws just happened yesterday, and given time zone differences, we're just into the afternoon bouts right now for the opening qualifiers. So hopefully, we'll have a little bit more to talk about on that front tomorrow.
Great. All right, thanks very much. Appreciate that. I'm looking forward to seeing who else is involved in this tournament, because technically Turkey is part of Asia, and Asia is one of the areas that still need to have their qualifiers, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
No.
Asia has had their qualifiers. It's Europe. It's the Europe and the American qualifiers that we're still waiting on. The Asian qualifier took place about a year ago. Now actually almost exactly a year ago. Well, actually, no. The European qualifier was pretty much exactly a year ago. So this would have been like February of 2020. That one took place, as well as the African qualifier has already taken place as well. So the only ones we're waiting on, and we still do have a couple of results that have already taken place in the European qualifier from the first 4 days that did take place. Yeah, the Asian qualifier that took place on. Yeah, that was in Amman, Jordan. March ran till March 11th, 2020. So those spots have already been allocated. So any rankings from any Asian countries at this point in time for these tournaments are only going to go towards those 53 spots that haven't already been awarded. Other than that, if you're not going to qualify because you're not at the top of your weight class at this point in time, and you're somewhere in Asia or Oceania or Africa at this point in time, your Olympics are over at this point. They're already done. They've already happened. They're already done at this point in time. Depending on where in the world you are, you're better to start focusing on the Commonwealth Games, the South Asia Games, or the various World Cups that happen around the calendar.
Got it. Right on. Out of curiosity, have you been poking around the world? Are there any other tournaments going on?
Oh, I mean, there's always stuff going on. Just what did we see just recently here?
I'm just curious if our friends in South America have any tournaments going on.
Oh, I haven't seen anything come through in the last little while from them. No, most recently was just I've lost the page that I was looking for there. No, there was one in Stockholm recently as well. A smaller tournament that happened there not that long ago. But
so the short answer is there are tournaments still ongoing, and
there's all kinds of the tournaments aren't stopping because the Olympics are happening. Is really what that comes down to. I just don't have the page in front of me this exact moment because I've lost it in the sea of pages that I have in front of me because I'm poorly organized. But we can take a look and we can see what's going on with our friends in South America. And we can take a look for some upcoming tournaments down there, and we'll bug our Spanish correspondent David Lara about that and see if he has an ear to the ground what's happening down there as well.
All right, excellent. Thanks very much. Appreciate it, as always. And a few good listenership out there. Keep your comments rolling in because we appreciate those as well. Oh, there was a tournament upcoming in Serbia, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll have to get some information on. Other than that, I guess we'll speak to you tomorrow.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you very much.